I am so excited to be in the studio with Chatham Rabbits. I'm with Sarah and Austin McCombie. I've been playing your music for years, and we're going to talk about your fourth album, which just came out, which is called Be Real With Me. First of all, welcome to Minnesota.
Thank you. We're
Our-
stoked to be here.
Our first time in the Twin Cities.
It's a little cold and rainy, but that's okay.
We're used to that here.
Yeah, it's no big deal for y'all.
Yeah. From reading your bio, I'm assuming that music you weren't going to be musicians. It's something that came on later, and now you're full-time musicians. So how did you make that transition? First of all, how did you become musicians, and how did you make that transition to being a full-time
Yeah.
player,
We
touring
completely cut bait with our corporate jobs. That's how.
Yeah.
artist? Which were what?
Well, I was not exactly corporate, but I still had to set an alarm and look presentable every day. I was a music teacher at a Montessori school doing K through 8 education, and
Okay.
Austin was a financial planner. So he
Okay.
did have
Yes.
the corporate cubicle desk job, and clients and conferences and all the things. But we were just remarking last night, actually, that we have now been playing music for twice as long as we had our other jobs, which is something we never thought that we would be
Right.
able to say. And we just feel really lucky that we get to do this. Because, before in our past life, music was our hobby.
Yeah.
And we somehow have turned our hobby into a job, which has its own downfall. Because, now I'm like, oh, playing the banjo doesn't exactly sound soothing anymore.
Yeah.
But it's been so rewarding, and we just never could have dreamed the places that music has taken us. It's been really great.
And I think to answer your question too, it was a definitive cutoff date for us. We decided to do it. Sarah finished her school year. I quit my job, and we were left with nothing else to do except for give this a try.
And we already had the experience of having jobs was very helpful to us. We were used to getting up and getting to work, and we treated booking shows and creating music like a 9 to 5. And I think that really helped us out. Just having a lot of structure and gumption in the beginning, and
Yeah.
it's sustained us
Yeah.
for sure.
Are you guys from North Carolina originally? You're
Yes.
Both
natives?
of us are, yeah. Different parts, but
How did you meet?
Oh, well, that's also funny that you ask that, because we, before we started rolling, we're talking about Watch House, formerly Mandolin Orange. I used to be in an old time band that back in 2013, my old time band went on tour with Watch House. We were the opening act for one of their album release tours. And so Austin was a Mandolin Orange Watch House fan, and
I was in the crowd.
in the audience.
I had no idea about her band or who she was, and you see the girl in the banjo, and you hope one day you get to talk to her. And about a year later, I finally did. So we met through music.
Yeah, it's very crazy.
Wow. I'm in the studio with Chatham Rabbits, and we're talking about their career and their new album, Be Real With Me, which came out about a year ago now. Album number 4. It seems to me, over the other albums I've heard, this is a little bit of a growth in your sound.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, there's some songs that kind of go a little bit more towards the poppy sound, and some that are folky. And how do these songs develop?
That's a really good question. I was able to co-produce this record, which was really, really fun. It took a long time to feel like I wasn't having major imposter syndrome, going into the studio and making some more decisions. And I've co-produced it with our producer that worked on a lot of our previous records. Saman Kajinian is his name. And I think we had been in the studio. We had live tracked a lot of stuff before with a band, and that's really special. But you are limited to the band's performance in a lot of ways. And we had always kind of had a bluegrass band. And this record, we kind of tracked from the ground up, and we threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall, and a lot of things didn't stick. And we kind of went back and forth, and really just had the total freedom of time. We worked on the record for at least, was it almost 2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Yeah, we recorded Facing 29 first, and that feels like a long time ago now, and just took our time with it. And I think that the evolution in sound came from us growing over those 2 years and doing things that were a lot outside of our comfort zone. and just being like, you know what? We are not defined by being a bluegrass band, and Americana is such a broad umbrella, and we can really like just try all these things and see how we feel about them as artists. And it was a really fun process.
I think making a record full of songs that you actually like to listen to yourself that was really rewarding. Like, I love this record. I listen to it like it's not even me. Like, it's in my car.
She wears our own merch too.
More so. So you liked it more so than your past records,
Yes.
obviously.
Oh, this is hands down my favorite. Like, I cringe sometimes at older songs. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot hear this. But this
Every
record,
artist does that.
Every
Sure,
artist.
yeah.
But this record, I am just like, it is so good.
And even after a year, you're still
Even
saying that.
I love it.
I'm not saying that as much for the record.
I don't
but
care. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also been fun having more flexibility with the live show because of this record being less genre specific. We've also been able to evolve the live show and have different band members. We just had a saxophone player for the first time, I guess last week at a big North Carolina show. And it was fun because like these songs are more flexible, and so it doesn't matter if there's a mandolin and a fiddle and, you know, all the things that we're used to. And so we're trying to kind of keep that trend going of just trying new things, you know?
Yeah. Like the first song on the record, Gas Money, it's a little bit more of a different sound for you guys.
Definitely.
It's some growth.
Totally. And
Yeah.
that's one of the ones I rock out to in the car.
Why?
Why? Have you heard the term like being like main charactering? Like when you like are just you get into this
You're feeling it.
you're feeling it and
yeah.
you like become the main character in the movie. Like you're like
Sure.
you're the Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada, or like Lizzie McGuire in the Lizzie McGuire
Okay.
movie. Like that's that's how I feel
How
when
about
I
Han Solo, maybe? Or,
yeah, okay, exactly.
There
You
you
just
go.
you pick your character, you become that thing, and you're just like you're vibing. And
Yeah.
and that's how that song is just like really fun, and I get to like play somebody else when I'm rocking out to it.
Yeah.
Another one that I really liked is Collateral Damage. I want my freedom. I want a baby. I want it all. I want it fast. I want my youth and my love to last. A baby?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
boy.
Oh yeah, I know, buckle up. Yeah, I
Drum roll. here.
this right. This is kind of where I get on my little bit of a soapbox, but I am very interested and frustrated by the notion that, you know, I'm 33 now, and at age 35, it's considered to be advanced maternal age, a geriatric pregnancy, but 35 years old is also the age at which you are allowed to run for president of the United States. So the exact moment that
Interesting.
women's fertility is peaking and then going down is the exact moment that they are like legally open to all of these other opportunities and like employment and things within, you know, their ability to make a living. And the fact that we have that biology component, we have the same time we have political factors at play, we have so many things that are like very, very, very personal choices that get complicated by all these exterior factors is just something that I feel really passionately about. And as it pertains to our life in music, you know, we love what we do for a living, but I also have always wanted to be a mom and trying to figure out how those two things work together in a country where healthcare is like very precarious. Just being a touring musician, traveling from state to state, and laws about how you are treated at a hospital as a woman changes just by the state lines and things like that. I was just trying to get all of those emotions out in this song and talk about when you want two things that are in opposition to one another and you want them at the same time.
Right. Oh. At the time this interview is being recorded, you guys are in the Twin Cities for a convention of librarians
Yes.
because there's a book.
Yes.
It involves a character that you created. Tell me about the book, Abigail.
Yeah. So we are here now for the Public Librarians Association Conference. It meets every year, and this happens to be Minneapolis's year to host 7,800 librarians and lots of people within the book industry. And yes, we have written a children's book called Abigail, based on our song called Abigail. Abigail is actually the horse in the song, and her rider is a unnamed character, kind of riffing on my own personality.
Probably, Sarah, maybe?
Yeah, probably. But it's the story of the women who were pack horse librarians during the Great Depression. So during the Great Depression, when FDR created the New Deal, one of the programs under that was the Pack Horse Library Project. And it was a program where women in Kentucky were paid by the federal government to ride their horses and mules into the mountains and deliver library books on horseback. They had to supply their own horses and mules, collect all of the library books themselves within their communities, and station like holding centers for the books in sheds, in churches, in barns. They made do with what they had. And I've just been so inspired by this story of resilience and these women. And I also am obsessed with both reading and horses. So I wrote this song and then had the idea from Austin for the children's book. And we worked with our long-time collaborator and friend. Her name is Kelly Wills. She is a illustrator out of Eugene, Oregon. And she painted these beautiful paintings for the children's book section of the book. And then I wrote the second half, which is an educator's guide. So parents and babysitters and cool aunts and uncles and teachers and librarians can sit down with their kids and read the book and have tons of conversations that are sparked by prompts and images in the book.
Sarah was homeschooled, so she was perfect for the job of the educator's guide.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that recently you guys moved so you could be closer to your family. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think that was kind of like a byproduct of it.
We've always been close to Sarah's family.
Yeah, we've always lived somewhat like closer to my side of the family, which has been really lovely. But a couple of years ago, my paternal grandfather passed away, and right before he passed, we were able to buy the family farm. And that was huge for us, and we have been slowly restoring it. The home place on the property was built in 1753, and the grounds are just spectacular, and we've converted a cattle barn into an open-air music venue. So we host concerts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. We host concerts, and we do a kids' summer camp and a Patreon camp out for our patrons. And it's
the only downside is we're no longer technically in Chatham County. We're one county over.
Do you have to change your name?
We might.
Guilford Rabbits does not
have a good ring.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same ring.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's been really fun to get to like assume the role of groundskeepers and farmers. And
yeah, we don't really feel
that.
like it's ours, even though we bought it. We feel like it's just been in the family for so long. We're just stewarding it for now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm in the studio with the Chatham Rabbits. They are Sarah and Austin McCombie. Album number 4 is out now. It's been a year. What's next? More music? Family? You bought the farm?
Yeah. A lot is
Probably
going
all of the
on.
above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
We are writing new material right now for album number 5.
Excellent.
And that is very exciting. It's just cool to see like what themes pop up naturally as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
Like we continue to write more and more about ourselves and less about like other stories. I think we're like less of imposter syndrome and more curiosity about ourselves and trying to dig into what makes us who we are. So we're working on that. And then, this children's book is going to be a huge part of what we're going to do moving forwards. Getting this children's book into independent bookstores and also doing library programming, school programming, and just using it as a whole other aspect of Chatham Rabbits.
Mm-hmm. The book is called Abigail.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent album is called Be Real With Me. These guys are the Chatham Rabbits. You guys, I'm a big fan. Thank you for coming in. It's been a real pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Hopefully
Mike.
we can come back and play at some point.
I know.
Yeah,
love that.
let's set a date.
Yeah, awesome.
The Current is public media made possible thanks to member support.